it was good and it was bad. Like it was great for a while, and then by the time it hit the Jupiter, sextile to Jupiter, and trying the ascendant, I bought a house in Willow Beach, and just the only time ever owned a house, and we were by the beach, and it had room for the telescope and a teepee and things. So it was a really nice time, and I was living my world. People would come from Toronto up to my place to look through the telescope or things like that. So that was a fairly good time. I hit the IC, it squared Neptune, and I had to move. I was in my third marriage, and in this period of 2 years, I moved 4 times with my wife. It was a very confusing, frustrating time. Like, just kept moving, not this, not this, not this, and it was like very disorienting for me. I'm sure for her too. Our marriage didn't last much better past that. So, okay. Then 1995, it hits sextiles to the Mercury, and I started a new relationship. It lasted a year. 96, it touches the star, and I had to move my library from the Star Center, which was down in the center of town, over to the east end a bit more. That was a big move. Yeah, when you move 75,000 books and 100 bookshelves, it's a big effort. I had about 40 people helping me, and we just did it. And then when it hit the Venus, I took a trip to India, went back to India into the meditation in the room again. So that's the second time. And the IC. So the other deep, profound things. Then I went ahead and opposed my moon, and I moved to the barn. We talked about this just before. In 2006, it squared my son. I had a prostate operation, and I started my I Ching book. I wasn't the start. Yeah, I started the I Ching book. So then, when it came in, made 72-degree aspects to Mars and Uranus, and semi-squared to the nodes. That's when I started the Rasa Scholarship Program. And then it trined in midheaven. I found a spiritual friend that I hadn't seen since I'd been in India for many years, and had learned from him. I was able to talk to him. That was a really deep connection. So they're just little things, little stories, but they're alive. For me, they go really, each of them went really deep and alive, more than I ever expected. So it's sextile to Venus, went into Aquarius sextile to Venus. I was working on developing the heliocentric charts, and I was studying Loy Hebafa, which is a type of Tai Chi, an advanced form of Tai Chi, kind of shadow boxing. It's a little different, but anyways, I was doing that. I've done Tai Chi for many, many years. Then when it squared the ascendant, I started the Student Rasa Forum in 2018. I squared Jupiter. It was quincunx to the ascendant, but that's when I started the Rasa Student Forum. And then the next one, it does a 135 to Uranus in 2020. I'm not sure what that is. Then it moves into my 6th house in 2021 and opposes Saturn in 2021. So there's a bunch of things coming up. I don't know what they are yet. You can't measure. You're going in with your inner depth trying to see, but these are all motivational points. And if I went into any of these deeper, to starting the forum and these points, and I took that degree or that position, which would be in this printout, exactly, it gives me the hexagrams and things. So if I went and studied that, I spent a few days working on that, or a month working on that, it certainly would be rewarding. Okay, so my main point is, this is a university. This is like an encyclopedia of information you can get to, and you're just going in and tapping what you can. Many people buy an encyclopedia. Nobody reads their encyclopedia from cover to cover from the beginning to end. They go in for pieces. Maybe somebody does. There might be a few people who did it, but there's a lot there, and you just have to pick and choose and go at it. So this is allowing you just like very sensitive points. Now I have to explain something else. So that's the traditional basic progressions, but really what happens with the progressions is just a picture of when I was born. If I do the chart the next year, same time, you get the chart, the IC has moved 1 day, 1 degree. So it's 1 day, but in that 1 day, the Earth has moved around 360 degrees, and with it, the IC has moved 360 degrees. But because it's moved forward 1 degree in its orbit, it really moves 361 degrees in a year. Okay, so we saw our progressed ascendant, a progressed IC, progressed angles moving a degree a year. really it's moving 361 degrees every year, but it appears like 1 degree a year. So it's really a fast moving progression factor that's moving around. And it's really like a day in each degree, a little less than about 17 hours in each degree as it's going around. So let's see. Imagine, I keep seeing it like you have a printer roll, a roll on a printer, and it's rolling on this sheet on this degree. As it's rolling on the sheet, it's taking the impressions as it goes around in that year. It's going through this 1 degree, and it's going through and it's getting an impression of Uranus, Neptune, of each planet, and of all the aspects as you play your piano music. It picks up the whole degree. It takes its motivation at that moment and moves it around the whole chart and puts it in every degree and checks out every degree, puts it to the planet, and each planet gets informed with that motivation, that motivation, that motivation, and it comes back to that point, to the motivation point, and then moves forward 1 more degree and starts the next degree, and then the next degree, it goes through the whole chart, picking up all those impressions again and putting them down inside the 1 degree. So each degree is a collector of information. It's like a database, it's like a box that you put information in. So you have 360 degrees of different boxes of information. And you have planets, and some of them have stars, and some of them you have different amounts of light and dark inside of them. You have transits that have happened, and some you have progressions. The degrees are always collecting information. And when a planet goes through the degrees, it's running into the information in that degree. So this 1 degree that the IC is moving through in that year is getting the impression of the whole chart according to the priority of that, whatever symbols that degree is. That degree is the theme for the year. And that theme is checked out against every point, every degree of the chart. The whole chart is moving around, the whole world turns around, and every part of your being is expanding and affected by that 1 degree over the year. And then it comes back and moves forward when it starts the next year. So this is something that people don't talk about, hasn't been talked about much. It always bothered me, and it's only just been coming together clearer over the last number of years, seeing it more clearly. So this is this is really, I've been working on for many years, but if I take it, the regular progressions, there's another form, another printout that I did this is just done for 2 years, 2018 to 2020. It takes the progressive ascendant, moves around the 360 degrees, 361 degrees for a year. So you can see there's almost, it changes a degree every day. It just goes along, and you get like a daily calendar of your progressed IC. And if you add your progressed ascendant to it, you got the 2 things, and you can put them on a daily calendar, and you will really see your spiritual inner effects as they're impressing your life on a day-to-day level. So if I did this, I printed one of these out for a lifetime for 100 years, and it was 780 pages. But it would be a reference book you could go look at any time. You would get to see exactly where something is. It's very useful, but for how much you use it, I just did the 2 years here, and I've done that for everybody in the webinar. These forms, I'm going to make them, these reports, I'm going to make a bunch of them available on my website, the www.iastrostore.com, and they'll be in there under charts. There'll be reports you can get. You'll be able to get these I Ching progressions and different things set up so that, and it won't be that expensive, so like, we'll see. It's more the time it takes to run them off, enter the data and run it off. But they'll be made available so you can get this information. It's a lot of work. I used to have calculators originally, so fortunately I made this program. It was made to do the progressions. It was made for the hexagons and the lines, and it was made to do exactly this. So as you go along, it sees all the different aspects, tells you what day of the year it happens. And this would happen almost the same. We shift a little bit each year. We shift a degree. There'll be a day out each year, as it goes along. So I haven't really I highlighted one thing here. When the IC moved around halfway around the year, when the IC went around, it would hit the midheaven. It would hit the angles, it would hit the midheaven as it's going around. The divisions has the squares, but really the ascendant and midheaven aren't square usually. They're at some angle from it, so it'll hit these 4 points, and those are the 4 most sensitive points: the IC, is coming up and touching your relationship, how you're responding to others, how that's motivating you, and then it touches how much you're living out your motive outwardly in the world. Then it touches your identity, and it's going on touching each planet around that with the symbol of that degree, with the meaning, with that Scorpio ascendant. My judgmental IC is going inwardly, judging every little thing going around as it goes around on the chart. I get tired of judging, as if I got it all together. Anyways, this is kind of how it works. So that then I've just jumped. The next one I've taken it for the year now. So I want to show what happens. This is, I'm 72, going to be 73 next month. So here's if I did my chart, here's my IC and so, okay, here, let's just take it. I got it here. Let's take, if I went for, I forget if I started at my birthday. Yeah, so it starts at 6 degrees. I'm just at 6, 7 degrees and of Aquarius. So my motivation for knowledge, for understanding, for learning, and it's going from the fifth to sixth house over this next year or so. It's been in my fifth house for a long time. Well, this whole period in the fifth house, that's 30 years, but really that's year being relating to my son and my grandkids. You know, so they've all had a very profound effect on me. Okay, so this goes around, and there's key points here. It's a starting point. Really, the point it starts at, it's just going through the degree it's in. So that degree symbol is very important, but in the cycle of things, it's not the most pivotal, critical points of the progressed IC. Or I'm just doing the IC, but you do this for each angle. You can do this for each angle. They'll move that different amount. Like I said, with the ascendant, descendant, it can move a degree or two. Because if it's in Pisces or Aries, you're going to have a fast-moving ascendant, and you get a couple of degrees. So the timing shifts. But as it's going along, when it'll go around and hit my descendant, hit my MC, hit my ascendant, it goes back to the descendant, it comes back to the IC, 72 degrees, 72 days before my birthday. This is where it was on my birthday. It's where it is on my birthday. So this is 72 years before. I have the IC to the IC. When the IC conjuncts the IC, that's a huge sensitive point. That's your most mystical sensitive point of the year. These cycles have aligned, boom, to your IC, to your nature, to your integrity point, to your inner meditation, to your inner motivations. Boom, that's a really powerful point to go in. If you're going to do some subjective research or intuitive research, you're going to want to know the hexagrams or things. And really, on that day or within a day or so of that, you're going to want to have a deep meditation or some special event going on to place it in your calendar, so you're doing respect and you're living up to your progressions. Not you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You set things up where you increase your sensitivity to gain inner experiences at these times. So this is one of the most profound times. There's one a year, and it slowly moves a day earlier. So you're going to see. So my progressed IC when I do the progressed chart is going to be here at 6 degrees Scorpio, but then it's moving up to hit the descendant, and then the midheaven, and the AC. And so it's going to be half the year is going to be above the horizon. Half the year is going to be below the horizon. Half the year is going to be rising. Half the year is going to be setting. It's going to go through all these qualities. It's going to go through half the year. It's going to be I, me, the day later is greater. Half the year is going to be we, us, the responsibility side of the fall and winter signs. And these patterns are going to be there in our inner spiritual development. So go figure. This is more of a wonder or contemplation than, oh, I know it, I knew all that, I can just do it. It's not like that. You go in like that and you got to find these things out because you're curious. But you find it, then you have to try it. Once you know it, once you notice it, what do you do with them? You have all the ones that have been passed, but it's hard to go back and remember how mystical it was this day last year or 20 years ago. It's hard to remember exactly that. We see the main phases of progressions easily, but how you're living it now, this is the challenge of this progressed angles. And I think the progressed I see moving around the chart, you get a day or two that's just special, four special days in the year that you got to pay attention to. And you're going to be feeling them positively or negatively. They're going to be there anyways. So as we go along,